What's up, boys? I was listening to a podcast. I heard Alex Hormozi say something along the lines of anxiety is due to too many options and no priority. Sadness is due to a perceived lack of options. And I want to look at, the anxiety part of things. How do we truly prioritize what's important to us right now, especially while we're in our 20s? Because how do we make these kinds of decisions? Do we go by what we feel? Do we go by what we are drawn to? Or do we go for what is rational and what will make the most sense and result in the most wonderful futures for us? Do these kinds of decisions have to be rational? When do emotions play a role? Should our emotions be completely ignored? Then how do we know we are interested in something? And should we be doing something that we find interest and purpose in, or should we find something that fits the rationale most? Do what we're good at, do what will turn into something that could support us in the future and something that we can do sustainably. How do we make those decisions? At this age, I'm 21 now, we feel kind of a social pressure to be wise, to have an opinion on everything, to know what to do, to be driven and focused on a task that will bring us somewhere in a few years later. But how do we make those decisions when, since we're 21, we're also dealing with a lot of other facets of confusion, and that's completely normal. That's not something that we need to completely resist or get super frustrated over, because at 21 we still don't know what's wrong and right. We don't know what works best for us. We don't know where's the most important place to put our time in. Do we try to be more social while we're in our 20s? Do we try to live more, go see more things, try new things? Or do we really dial down and focus and work really hard on one thing so that when we're 30 years old, maybe we could reap the benefits of that early on and create a more comfortable future for the rest of our lives? It's so hard to make these kinds of rational decisions because, we don't even know who we are yet, what we value yet. And from the wisest people I know in person and on the internet, all of them understand that when we are in our 20s, it's okay to be confused and frustrated, and it's probably necessary for us to lean towards extreme ways of living. Maybe we work too hard, overwork ourselves, or maybe we lean too far towards the hedonic lifestyle where we seek comfort, instant gratification. Maybe we participate in too many social events where there's drinking, casual sex, and retarded things. In our 20s, that's remarkably common, right? And when we're making priorities and decisions, they largely depend on our circumstances, and there are no absolutes to things. And it's also very normal for us to be worried whether we're doing things right or not, and whether we should be focusing on living or focusing on working to create a sustainable and wonderful future for ourselves. Because what would it mean to do both if we lean into focusing on creating a wonderful future? How do we know it would definitely work out? Will we regret this? And there are millions of doubts and millions of uncertainties. And if you lean into the other side of the spectrum, which is to live out your 20s, right? What would that even mean? Are you just going to spend 24 hours a day doing whatever you can to be social, to consume as much instant gratification as possible, to play as many hours of games as possible? The consensus would be to find a work-life balance. So what? Does that mean that every day you have part of it playing and part of it working? Is that really the most fulfilling and purposeful and productive approach to things? Not really, because your brain is torn apart on how you can maximize both sides of the coin, living and working. Then we come to the most logical and realistic approach to trying to have work-life balance, which is to have seasonal periodization of your work and maybe take a few weeks or a month off to live more, to be more social, to put yourself out there more and participate in more social events and have a little bit of fun, do some stupid things that don't contribute to your future wonderful endeavors and goals. That approach makes the most sense and is probably the most sustainable, and your brain isn't torn apart day by day, because if you're just tuned into making progress, then you can just block out all the other distractions and bad habits and solely focus on making progress. And that actually feels very purposeful. It's just maybe sometimes it drags too long to the point where people become social autists and they completely take themselves out of social situations, and then they feel terrible about it, and they lose their ability to communicate, set boundaries, and learn to navigate their lives around other people, and lack skills in social confrontation. And it's even worse the other way, probably. If you go the full-on hedonic lifestyle where you just do whatever you want, you don't spend any time thinking about your future, you live in the present by just doing anything that makes you happy right now. That isn't amazing either. You have nothing to look forward to when you wake up except to consume more things, and things feel very meaningless and everything lacks purpose, and every characteristic of you starts to deteriorate and degenerate over time because you're not doing anything to at least maintain your welfare. I guess what I'm trying to say is that all decisions at our age does not have to be rational. Emotions are quite important as well, but they are definitely not everything. And when we make a decision, the lines are always very blurry between right and wrong, especially when we're so young. And we can't exactly take advice from other people all the time, or we can't fully copy what somebody else did because we're just in a completely different circumstance from them. And the decisions we make in our own lives are very unique to us. Sure, we can take in some advice and information from here and there to try to make more of a critical decision, but we'll never know whether it's the best one or not. And many years later, then we can draw the lines to the outcomes and see whether what we did even mattered. And sometimes even by doing that, drawing the lines, we don't know if we got the outcome we got because of those things we did. We don't know these exact lines. We are just connecting the dots here. We don't know if something will work or not. We don't know if pushing ourselves to have more exposure in social situations will make us more confident or not. We don't know if put in all our time and effort and sacrifice so many social events just to sit there and work on our business will turn into something wonderful or not. We really wouldn't know. We can only really keep trying. And I think one of the most valuable things I learned that has been quite beneficial to me is just to the best of my ability, based on my circumstance and priorities at the time, try to provide value for other people. Now at first, I was fully convinced that the intention is just to please other people, to make myself seem admirable, to become more respectable, maybe to give myself some evidence that I'm a good person and then I can rest easy in that. The idea was that any effort to provide value to other people is to benefit myself, and therefore inherently humans are selfish and disgusting creatures. But as I kind of forcefully blocked out that thought and just focused on doing the act of helping other people, of being there, spending time with other people, spending more time with my grandparents, genuinely trying to help them and genuinely thinking for them, genuinely trying to do things without people seeing, for my friends, for my family. That gave me a much stronger sense of belonging to the world, and that also helped me trust people more, because if I'm giving back to them and I kind of know that, I genuinely want to do it and it's not entirely some selfish social pressure kind of thing, I think from that experience I can rest easy that there is possibility that other people are genuinely trying to do good for me as well, and therefore I can accept that help without feeling guilt or like I'm undeserving of it, or having to thank them profusely so that they would be willing to help me and be nice to me again. At this stage of my life and our lives, we are remarkably confused, frustrated, everything makes no sense, everything is wrong and right at the same time, the lines are so blurry. Do I go for what I want, or do I go for what is important and people say is good? It's always largely encouraged that you should do the things you want and not care what other people think. Are you dumb? Then what if somebody wants to rape someone? So what? Is he just supposed to carry that out? And we have to make sacrifices for other people too. It's not so simple to the point where we can just say the most reckless sentence like, oh, you shouldn't care what other people think. What I'm trying to say in this section is that there are really no absolutes to living. To deal with our confusion and loneliness and frustration is maybe to cultivate a sense of belonging amongst people by giving back, by providing value to other people, and from there we find that is probably the most purposeful thing, because in a world with no other people, what will we really be doing, right? Nothing really matters. We'll probably kill ourselves. So perhaps something that could keep us grounded, something that could keep us conscientious and willing to keep going, is to cultivate that sense of belonging amongst people by providing value, by making sacrifices for other people, by spending time with people. And as we do that, I think we slowly let go of the idea that people are all inherently selfish and only think about themselves and their immediate surroundings. then maybe from there we can actually see some point to what we are doing and what we are trying to do with our futures. Right now I'm so torn up between whether I want to dedicate more of my time to become more of an interesting person, develop my hobbies, go out to social events, make new friends, speak to girls, or do I really want to dial in, use my 20s wisely, whatever that would mean, and put my time into, looking into businesses, investments, dedicating all my time to developing this YouTube stuff, working on my physique, my physical attractiveness, my ability to articulate my thoughts and structure my sentences. What should be the focus here? And if I try to do everything, it gets very messy, it gets very anxious, I fall into ruts faster because I don't have priorities. I want to do everything. So what's the play here? I really don't know. We make the best decisions we can, and even then we don't know whether that's the best decision we could have made. And even when we gain more knowledge and think back to a certain moment where we made a decision that we regret, even with the new knowledge we've gained over experience, going back to that situation in the same circumstances, we might have made the exact same choice. Sometimes people don't learn from their mistakes, and sometimes we can't, and that sucks, but I don't know. I want to say maybe it's okay, but even then I really don't know. I think I want to try to become more okay with making mistakes, become more accepting of failure, so that I could put myself into more opportunity. Because maybe the game plan here isn't to win every game we play, but to just play more games. I think all in all, the purpose of this video is to kind of share with you my confusion and frustration, and maybe you feel exactly the same way. Know that you're not alone. We're in this together. And I mean that, I'm not saying that as some call to action, wonderful, ending to the video where you build a connection with me, oh my god, and then you subscribe and I get cash. I make $0, by the way. This is just like an attempt for social connection on the internet. I don't really know what I'm doing here. I don't know whether this shit will work out. I don't know what the hell is the point of clearing my acne, working on my physique, trying to become more attractive. Will I regret it when I eventually find someone wonderful and wonder if she's only with me because I look good? I don't know what's the meaning of all these resources. I'm trying to get a lot of status and money so that more bitches will hunt me down and more men will look up to me, Then I will always think that I could just attribute my status amongst people to the resources I've garnered. Do people actually love me or my cash and my status? There are problems in every endeavor we eventually end up in. There are considerations for every single circumstance we're in, for every single decision we'll make. It's just too difficult to know whether we're doing the right thing. I think I'm going to stick to the strategy of, instead of trying to win every game, I'll try to play more games. I'll try to give myself more opportunity, fail more, do more stupid things, speak to more people, sign up for new things to the best of my ability where I can afford it, learn as many hobbies as I can. I think while we're in our 20s, it's okay to do that. But I wouldn't know. None of us will, I think. Honestly, I hate being uncertain because it will sound like I'm less credible, less reliable to listen to or to speak to, and being uncertain means I provide less value. But it's the truth, and I feel like too many people try to act certain nowadays. There's so much nonsense information around on what works and what doesn't. Alright boys, I love you. Good luck. It's a better world. Mm.